Da, da, theme song. Da, da, da.
Hi, welcome back.
Hello.
Welcome to Wine on an Empty Stomach, a speculative fiction book club brought to you by 1,000 Eyes in One podcast. I'm Tanya,
I'm Nikki.
and
And
today we brought a
man,
friend, Jeff Van Zande. We're going to talk about his novel, The Dance
Dance of Rotten Sticks.
Sticks.
This is our halfway to Halloween was last month, but we don't care. So, it's all spooky season is always in season. We do love a scary book. And man. My name isn't Sage all up in here for no reason. Oh man.
So yeah.
Yeah.
You prepared to be creeped out if you have not read it yet.
By the way, your hair looks really good.
Thank you. I combed it.
Curls are popping.
That's like my new thing now is actually combing through it. Such a difference. Let's bring on Jeff. Hi.
Hey.
Hello. How are you doing?
We're
Good.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure.
Here. Yeah, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I guess as we always do in America, begin with work. I teach. You need to. When we ask somebody isn't it sad? When we ask somebody, what do you do? We don't say, what do you do that makes you happy? We mean, what do you do to make money?
You know what I started saying? I was like, what pays your rent?
Right.
I like to just lie. I'm just like, nothing. A little bit of this, a little bit of that.
What do you mean?
I teach at a community college in Michigan, Delta College, which is, well, as we often do in Michigan, we hold up our hands to show where we live because we got the mitten. It's right kind of in the middle by Midland, Saginaw, and Bay City.
Okay.
I've been writing for about, let's see, I'm 54, 44, 34, over 30 years. Written a little bit. I'm basically equal opportunity failure. So I failed at failed at poetry, failed at short story. No, I've dabbled in screenwriting, poetry, short fiction, novels. Filmmaking as well. Teach film and creative writing on top of your regular composition classes.
I think first of all, we think about Brandon Sanderson and we talk about him all the time. Like, how do you find time to do all of that? Like to write the things that you want, to teach the classes, to have family, to do all these things because he's so prolific, right? But like, how do you organize your time to be able to knock all these things out?
Sometimes I don't know how I do it when I get into the zone. Earlier, before the show started, I was talking with Tanya about I finished the sequel to The Dance of Rotten Sticks.
Congratulations.
Finished this morning, and that I contacted my publisher and said, when you're ready to see it, I'm ready to send it to you. When that might mean we're not interested in it or whatever, but I started that in September, finished it in February. And I was lying in bed the other morning thinking, how did I do that? Like different versions of yourself. Like I get into a work version that just has to okay, if I'm going to do this, I have to write every day, at least 5 days out of the 7 days of the week, push myself. And that's even when school is going on. I'll get up then at 6:30, put coffee on, write for 45 minutes, and then go to the gym, go to teach, all of it. But but now in retrospect, the idea of it absolutely exhausts me, and I don't think I could do it.
It's like the only thing I do consistently is wake up,
right,
and feed my cat.
So yeah, and I have an idea for a third book, and I could see it possibly being a 3-book series. And even though I have the idea right now, I don't have the energy. I don't know where that person is, but he'll emerge and he'll start working. But for right now, I'm doing more physical work, put a new fence up in the yard. I'm going to build a storage shed for some of our outdoor stuff. And I think that physical labor is served well in the summer. So yeah, I don't know. All I know is when I'm doing it, I am doing it consistently. Like I have to try to write every day.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll put some arbitrary number like, okay, at the end of the week, I want 3,000 words done.
Right.
And I'll get them however, oh, I'm a little bit ahead Tuesday. Good. Maybe I can get away with a day, but it's definitely you have to be driven. There's no monetary award waiting for you. There's not scores of fans hoping for that book to come out.
We are.
I'm really happy with the sequel. Really happy.
We're excited. Well, spoiler alert, guys, there's a sequel. And when we spoke a couple months ago, you were talking about it, and we are like, oh boy. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
Because the way it ends, you're just like, okay, I can see this being the end, but ooh, there's potential for something to come next. So that's awesome.
That little short ending chapter
Mm-hmm.
kind of hints. I left myself at least a door that if I wanted to, and I did. Writing The Dance of Rotten Sticks was a complete experiment for me. I have five other novels. 4 of them are straight up literary novels. Just for lack of a better word, boring. No, I wouldn't say. But literary is super hard to sell. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not a huge. And then the first book that I had that came out from Montag Press, who also did Dance of Rotten Sticks, was this Rules of Order, which was my first getting away from literary, and that was a dystopian. And
I like dystopian.
I think it came out on the tail end, though, of the whole dystopian. I mean, dystopian got really flooded for a while.
Yeah.
And that's what I chalk it up to. Like I'm just comforting myself, like, oh, well, dystopian that's the only reason I'm not a millionaire.
I put it in the chat and check it out. I said I put it in our chat, and so people check it out.
Oh, well, thank you. And then so the Dance of Rotten Sticks was a complete experiment. I've done a little horror filmmaking, but never wrote horror, never read. I hate to admit, I've never read a horror novel.
That's what surprised me. It's like, because I remember we were talking about it, and I was like, I know that you've done like horror screenplays, but you say that you've never read Stephen King. You've never done any of that stuff. So what was it? Well, first of all, like, where did the idea come from, and what was like, okay, horror, this is the thing?
I know that because I wrote The Dance of Rotten Sticks, actually the Rules of Order and The Dance of Rotten Sticks, I wrote in 2020. Because, that little thing was going on, COVID, that minor blip. And I had a lot of downtime on my computer. I was not at that time a very good online teacher, but we were forced online. So I thought, well, I can best serve my students by being super responsive. So at the very least, if they email me a question, they're going to get an answer like that. That's one thing I can do. And so I was on my computer all the time, and those emails were not always frequent. So I just was working on these books and cranked out Rules of Order very quickly in the spring. And then I was one place I could go. My buddy has a Airbnb up by Traverse City, which is up here in Michigan. Beautiful area. And he is on a lake called Island Lake. And it has an island in the middle of the lake. And for some reason, I was at first just thinking about the logistics of like, God, what a pain. What if you're a smoker and you take your boat all the way up, you're getting set up, and then you realize, oh man, I want to see. I gotta get back in the boat, go back. So I was thinking about the logistics, and then I just think something about the setting, and I think maybe because we were in kind of horrific times, like I felt scared, horrified, whatever. It was remember in the early stages when we didn't really know what was going on. Like,
we live in New York.
Right.
Yeah.
Can I touch my mail? Can I touch the
Right.
Cheerios that were just delivered by shipped or whatever. It
Mhm.
was scary. So I think that mindset, that makes sense that I would lean towards horror. So I had
Mhm.
this idea of something kind of going down on an island and witchy vibes, and I knew children would be involved, etc.
Always
And it's so
scary.
And I spent that whole summer with the idea in my head, and I just wouldn't write it because I'm like, you're not a horror writer. Just wait for this to go away. It will. But I was fly fishing with my friend. We would meet once a month up in the Pigeon River Forest, where actually the sequel is set.
Mhm.
But we would meet there and we'd fly fish. You could be outdoors camping. You didn't worry about contact with the virus as much. So we were going up there once a month. And when we weren't fishing, sitting around the fire, I'd be telling him about this idea I have for this novel that takes place on an island, but it's a horror novel, and I'm walking him through it. And by the end of that summer, our last trip in August, at the end of the trip, he said, and I thank him for this, he said, it's really time for you to stop talking about this book and start writing it. And I was like, he's right. Like, and I started it in September of 2020 and finished in November of 2020.
Holy
wow.
cow.
I was having like not 3,000 word weeks, 2 and 3,000 word days. Like,
Wow.
Wow.
This
and
was ready to come.
but I think partly because I really had thought it through the whole summer. Like I
Mhm.
really had talked him through beginning to end, what I saw, what were some of the major plot points. And yeah, I think so. In almost in a way, I wasn't even writing it. It was just my brain dictating it to my fingers at that point because I really had done so much pre-writing in my head.
Mhm. Mhm. I have a random question. Have you ever been to a place so scary that you're like, never going back?
Yes, because I had when I was young, I can't remember. These are just abandoned houses in the UP, which is the Upper Peninsula of
Mhm.
Michigan. So you got Lower Peninsula, there's the Upper. So it's a
I
weird,
love the hands, yeah.
but yeah. So I had friends who were really into like the paranormal, um, fancied themselves investigators as much as you can with like a cheap handheld tape recorder and nothing else.
Yeah.
Which era? Yes.
But I remember going into places and you could feel and maybe it was self-imposed, but you could feel the dread. You could feel like,
Mm.
but is it your mind doing it because you're going in there anticipating something paranormal, or was it really paranormal? But a lot of those investigations I didn't last on very long.
I wouldn't have either.
Okay, I'm going to sit in the car now.
You
Yeah.
couldn't so I never quite believed in the paranormal until really like people kept telling me my apartment was haunted, and then I was like they might be onto something.
Like
Um
everybody.
yeah, like everyone who comes here is like I think your apartment's haunted. And I was like I don't believe in ghosts, and I said that to somebody once and he was like don't say that, they'll get mad. And I was like okay, this is like really creepy. But I am a big scaredy cat in general. I don't go camping. I don't go into the woods. I don't go into abandoned places. Like I grew up on all of the like Friday the 13th and all the slasher films from like the late 70s and early 80s. And so like I have a pretty strong fear of abandoned places and woods and places where people can't hear
Mhm.
you scream. So, the idea of taking a boat to an island where I have to put up a flag so that they know to come get me is like my nightmare manifest.
Yeah, I mean, I grew up with a family that's very much like dreamers and premonitions, and ghosts are real. Ghosts are real. It's funny to listen to you talk about that, Tanya, because all those movies were rated R, so I never saw them. And I grew up going into the woods with trees in the yard. I grew up in Germany, so like sometimes we'd happen upon like a World War II bunker, and we'd go down there and explore. Um, but I always did have a healthy fear of things. And then I had like some really weird encounters, and I was like, oh yeah, 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 okay, that's for true. Those things happen. Like you carry salt on you, and you burn sage in your thing, and you walk in your house backwards when you've been out late at night. Like all of these. yeah, there have been some things that have scared the shit out of me that I'm like, okay, yeah, I believe.
I think paranormal is the scariest thing for me. That's like the one type of horror movie that I don't watch because it actually gets too scary for me. Like I'll dream about it as an adult. I still get nightmares. And so Jeff, reading your book, as it got spookier and spookier, I kept saying, okay, I can't read this at nighttime anymore, but that's usually when I get my reading done.
Same.
So
I
I
was
had
just
to,
go ahead, Tanya.
I was gonna say I had to put it on my iPad so that I could read it in the dark. And you know, as this child kept talking to these whatever he was talking to, as someone with creepy children myself, I was getting a little bit freaked out.
Hit it too close to home.
It was hitting a little too close to home. And I was like, okay, this is getting kind of scary. Like, I don't think I can read this at night anymore. And so I started having to find time to read it in the daytime and just like kind of carving out like 30 minutes at a time to sit and read until I could, you know, get through it. I was like running into my room at night and like avoiding the mirrors because I'm convinced that something's gonna look back. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Glucose Lad we have a healthy fear of him too. I mean, I had the same experience. Like, I started reading a little bit before Tanya, and like the first chapter with the car accident, I was like, oh man, that's sad. But when Isaac is sitting out on the back porch, that like in the first chapter, and there's like the rabbit that screams, and he knows that something is out there watching him, and like Emily comes out and she's talking about the moth. I was like, you know what? This was not a bedtime read. I have to like put it to the side. And I texted Tanya, I was like, no spoilers, but I'm scared. You know, I said, I am shooketh. And then there were a couple of parts like I would like want to read at night. And there was one night, I think it had to do something with the Ouija board, right? I was like, I have to tell Tanya. And my bed, I can see it right here. My couch is right here. That's where I leave my phone. I had to turn on the light to come and text Tanya that I was scared and I couldn't read it anymore, and then go back to bed. So yeah, there were definitely moments where I was like, oh my God, like Ouija board scares me. My parents warned me.
So I guess we can do like light spoilery for now, and maybe we'll get more spoilery later. But I joke all this. Nikki and I both joke all the time about Black people in horror movies and in horror stories and how like they would end so quickly if like all of the protagonists are Black. Because first of all, you'd have to convince me to take a boat onto that island, like I said. But if let's say I go along with it, you know, I love mountains and things. You might convince me. The moment that Ouija board came back, that green flag would have shot up so fucking fast.
Oh man,
I would have gone straight home, and I would have left the creepy kid behind. And
you know what?
Been like, I don't know what happened to him. He must have run off.
Dude, for me, it was when Madame Zara calls and she's like, "Hey, do you have you need like 3 iron nails?" And I was like, what? He's drunk. He's like, what is this woman talking about? And immediately I was like, oh my God, iron nails. Like those things keep ghosts away. You know, like I know this. I mean, especially in this anime that I watched, Vande Zande, there are lots of yokai and ghost stuff. And
I would have gotten
the grandmother said, she was like, oh no, that like it can either contain things or keep things out. So I was like, okay, no. We are going somewhere. And then when they get to the island, so basically this man and his wife, they're having a lovely dinner. The roads are icy. They have a car accident. She dies terribly. He spirals and he, becomes an alcoholic. He's trying to like cope with the death and raise his kids. And as we know from Wheel of Time, R.I.P., that there's a character in there, Jeff, and she says, you can either take care of the living or mourn the dead. You can't do both. And this is something that we see that Isaac is going through. So he has this idea. He and his wife, they just bought this cabin on a lake. You have to take a boat to. And he was like, you know what? Let me take the kids out there. My daughter, it's going to be her birthday. She's turning 11. It'll be a great trip. They get to the island and the baby, the little son is like, what did he say? He's like, get your goddamn hands off me. It's like, you said his voice dropped an octave lower. And I was like, nope. Time to go to bed.
Get the wheel and start turning it around.
I don't know what's going on at this island, but no.
You're going to grandma's house.
You know, did we bring sage and salt? Did we pack the sage and salt? Like, No. Those were there were moments like that I was like, no, my mama told me to go home. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing out
Yeah,
there?
yeah,
Well,
definitely.
one of the things I did was I made Isaac kind of this almost ultra skeptic
Mm-hmm.
that he is not going to ever like attach something to the paranormal as the first explanation. You know, he's
Which is
always,
what I think
Science,
most people
right?
would be like.
I think he's either too drunk to pay attention to what's going on, he's too in grief, he's too consumed, or he's just too skeptical. You
I
know,
would
he's
say I would also argue that, like he does empirical research. He works for Fish and Wildlife. There's a cause, there's effect. There's got to be
Right,
something
he's a
natural to
scientist.
attribute this to. He's a scientist. So I
Mhm.
get that about it too. I'm just, of course, no, go to sleep. It was a dream.
right, right.
But how you explain the baby getting bass in his voice? I'm like, okay. Whew. Man.
Well, yeah, again, like, well, everything he thinks he's sleepwalking. You know,
Hmm.
Yeah.
everything has this kind of explanation,
Yeah.
and it's funny too because I don't remember why early on I made him a sleepwalker, and then it became like integral to the rest of
Hmm.
you know, even why he wanders over to the old Victorian home on the island at night. And again, Isaac chalks it up to he must be sleepwalking.
I like how you treat sleepwalking too, because I think a lot of people think like, oh, it's like, oh, just walking. One of my besties, she's a sleepwalker, and they had to put like these things on the door to keep her from opening because her kids would see her at night, and she'd have whole conversations with them. One time, she almost got up and drove the car, and that's when they're like, okay, we need to put the thing. So it's not like it's an altered state of consciousness. You might not remember what you're doing, like but the kid walked out with a knife to go kill that bitch.
And kudos to him.
Yeah.
Kudos to him.
Yeah.
Way to murder for your family,
Carson knew
kid.
what was up. Carson knew
Yeah.
what was up. Oh man. And I think immediately I was scared for Emily, like from the beginning. You're like, she misses her mom. Like, I'm into spirit animals. And she's like, so I had to laugh when Emily was like talking about the moth being her mom, and this is a representation. They get to the island, there's a monarch butterfly because of Tanya's feelings about butterflies.
I hate butterflies.
She
I'm like
thinks
the
they're
only
suspicious.
I don't know why, but like butterflies, just like two things that people love that rouse suspicion in me are butterflies and sunflowers. And I can't explain why, but they just make me so suspicious. And I have often referred to butterflies as roaches in tuxedos. Like it's just like something about them makes me feel like I can't trust them.
A butterfly?
I don't know what it is. Like I see them and I just feel suspicion.
So funny.
I
It's one of
suppose.
my favorite quirks that you have.
Really?
Your favorite quirks. Yeah. I love it. It makes no sense, but I'm here for it.
One of the things I think about from time to time, it's really interesting. Mayflies, which are a fly that you encounter or an insect you encounter while fly fishing, it's a big thing during fly fishing. The mayfly hatch because you know they put nymphs in the water. They spend most of their lives underwater, but then they come to the surface. They hatch into their adult form, and for 3 days, their sole purpose is to mate. And it's interesting because they're not even born with mouths, or they don't in their adult form they don't have mouths because they're not about sustaining that body anymore. They have 3 days to mate and then they just die.
Wow.
And that's why the hatch is such a big
Doesn't sound
deal.
like a bad living.
They they mate above the river, and then when they're done, it's called a spinner fall, where they just spin down to the surface of the river, and then that's when the trout go crazy because
That's what I was gonna say. Do they eat
the
them?
buffet is open, and there's
Huh.
really but all of that was just to say it interested me. The whole natural world is so fascinating that they're just born without mouths.
That
It's
is
why, or not born, but they emerge in their final stage without mouths because they don't need them. And it made me wonder: do butterflies have mouths?
I
They
think
need
they
them
do. They've got the long curly tongues.
yeah, they do. They do. The mayfly is alive in its adult form for like 3 days, and then it's done.
That made
Just
me
3
think
days
of
of just debauchery.
Bacchanal.
Yeah.
It made me think that you telling me that made me think of the line from The Little Mermaid where Ursula's trying to sell Ariel on not having a voice anymore. And she's like, "You've got your looks, your pretty face, and don't underestimate the importance of body language." And I'm like, that's the Mayfly. Like, that's real life.
That makes
Yeah,
sense.
that's so funny. And so wait, so you said your brother-in-law works for Fish and Wildlife?
Yes.
That's where you got a lot of your info?
That's where I got the details. I just sent him the chapters, like, here's, and I did my own research just to try to get it as accurate, but that's what he would do is he would go with a crew, they would camp at the mouth of a river, and they
Mhm.
would do treatments throughout, and literally he said, like, this poison we're putting in, from where you put it in downstream, the river turns yellow for a period of time. Like, that's how, and that's like drops of it.
Wow.
But then it kills all the larvae of the lamprey, so they don't turn around and go out into the lakes.
Evelyn didn't stand a chance.
Right? Yeah, that's what I was doing with him too. Is like, would this actually like kill you if it was pumped right into your bloodstream? And he was like, well, this is parts per million. This is what it does to a river. So
Wow.
I'm guessing a full 50 cc's is going to, probably not be good for her system.
Oh, you know what else, Tanya? When I was thinking, when you were talking about like signs that have been like, oh nope, when they talk about the fact that the previous owners, they were like,
Just
what
packed
did
up and
she
left.
say? They just like they left. They dipped out so quickly. I think she said that they were not eager to sell, but like very motivated,
Right.
very
Right.
motivated. And I was like,
And
something's up.
I believe he says, I think they were there for some kind of birthday celebration because they had a
Hmm.
bunch of people and we saw presents, and it took me 2 trips to get everybody over there. But when they came back, it was all in one trip because they were ready to get the hell off the island. And for me as the writer, that is probably some child was celebrating an 11th birthday.
11 was a crazy year.
And
Yeah,
so
I got
that's
my period when I was 11 too. It's a big deal.
Me too.
Yeah.
And like they don't
my
prep
name.
you. Yeah. My school, they did, I don't know how your school did it, but like our like 5th grade sex ed was like, oh, you'll see a spot in your panties. Go to the nurse's office and she'll give you a panty liner. And they're like, it was a bloodbath. Like, you
It
guys
was a
lied to
blend.
me. So
Yeah.
I understood. So it like brought back those memories of like,
Mhm.
that's the other horror part of it, right?
I know that too. Like, oh my God. We didn't
The
even
body
bring
horror.
pads.
Right? It's the body horror part of the story that you didn't even realize you were writing, right?
That's true. True. I'm just glad to hear you both say that it was frightening, because that I was huge full of doubts writing the thing where I'm like, this is going to be a complete flop. It's going to be too literary for the horror crowd and too horror for the literary crowd. And it's just
No.
I
going to,
think it was a good balance,
Yeah,
actually.
absolutely.
Reading
Absolutely.
it,
that's
I
great to
didn't
hear.
think of it as like straight horror. I think
The
it
sentences
did
were
read
too
as
tasty.
it
The sentences were too
definitely read as a little bit of both.
And
It
that's what I
wasn't.
was hoping for. I'm trying to do some things about grief and alcoholism too. I'm a recovered
Yeah.
alcoholic, so I was still thank you.
Congratulations.
I was still actively drinking when I was writing the book, and it was watching Isaac flounder so pathetically through these situations when he was drinking that made me
Mhm.
kind of reflect on myself. I drank very much like him. His whole, like, I only have a pint of whiskey a night. And that was me. If there'd been a fifth in the house, I would have drank it. But I
Mhm.
would buy the pint, and I was at least smart enough to know, okay, after you drink the pint, you're not getting in the car to go get me.
Right.
So I would kind of be done. But I was drinking, pint of whiskey every night. That's a lot.
I mean, there's definitely horror in that too. I mean, there's that section where Isaac's mother-in-law Helen is like, these are what your kids have been texting me, that you're sleeping in the backyard, that they couldn't wake you up. All these things are happening. What if there was an emergency? Like, what if the house burned down and they couldn't wake you up? Like, that's terrifying.
Right, right.
I think for me, watching his brother watch him drink was when it really settled. I mean, I picked up quickly that he had a drinking problem, but it made it really real seeing it through the eyes of his brother, where he's like, "Are you gonna have another one?" And you're like, "Oh yeah, this is how people normally drink with like,
Right.
we'll just have a beer and like we'll just chill out, you know." And then he kind of keeps going, and then the brother's watching him, and he pours another one, and like that kind of, I guess, lack of self-consciousness, you
Right.
know, by then he's just in it and he's
Yeah.
just gonna keep going. And yeah, I think that made it really real, was seeing it through the eyes of his brother. For some reason, it just like stood out to me seeing it that way.
You know what stood out to me on the second read? There's where the same thing where they're sitting out on the porch and like he's got Emily and Emily comes and sits on his lap and they're talking and he like wants a drink, but he can't get it because she's like literally blocking him. He like goes to reach for it and he was there and I was like, oh yeah, man, this kid, she's gonna save your life. I can feel it. I was like, these are the choices that you have to make. Do you choose your family or do you choose the drink?
Right, right. And when the kid is immediately there, he can contain himself because he knows the drink is there, and more than anything, he's trying to reach down and get it. But he also thinks better of it, like he doesn't want to drink in front of her.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he goes to reach and it's like, no, I better wait.
Yeah.
Yeah, he thinks he needs to save the kids, and it's more symbiotic, I think, in a way. They save him, or at least give him purpose. I couldn't imagine if he lost Gwen and the kids were adults.
Oh,
He
man,
probably
yeah.
would have just drank himself to death, or at least
Yeah.
ended up living a really isolated kind of life. And in that respect, a lot of people don't like Helen, the mother-in-law, but I
I think
get
you're primed to like her. Not there's like the trope about mother-in-laws, right? That they're trash.
Plus, we're seeing her through Isaac's
Yeah.
point of view.
right.
So it's like, if you're through his point of view, it's kind of like this harpy who's trying to take his kids away. But if you think of it from completely on the outside, it's like, yeah, you're getting hammered every single night while you're small children in the home. And of
Right.
course, she wants to save them and take care of them, especially the older daughters texting her and being worried. And
Right.
yeah,
Right.
so I could see how, if you read it as if you are Isaac, then, you know, she's like the butting in, annoying mother-in-law, but you really do have to step outside of it. And I felt for the oldest daughter as well. As an oldest daughter, there's so much pressure on you to help with younger siblings.
Pressure. There's no, you say like that, there's a choice.
Yeah. Yeah,
You
like,
just do.
you know,
Like,
you become, you're a de facto baby. I'm an oldest daughter, but I'm also one of the older cousins. And so like there was always pressure on me
same.
to take care of the smaller children. So I can't imagine, you know, how much it's magnified when you lose your mother.
Right. Right. Yeah. I'm a baby, so and I've got two siblings, and the second one above me is 7 years older than me, and the first 9 years older. So I'm almost, in a way, an only child,
Yeah.
because they were largely doing their own thing by the time I came online, like at 5 years old, where you start to actually become a person. And I mean, they were, God, in their teens doing their own thing. So
Yeah.
so I did not have that experience, but I'm glad I represented it well with Ash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, I mean, I think, sorry, we like jumped in on and Helen, but like, what were you going to say about her? You said that people often look at her as like,
Oh, mainly just to say I do understand where she was coming from, even if I don't like her myself. I didn't mean to write her. She's a little self-righteous, and I think that just doesn't sit well with people.
Yeah.
But she's genuinely worried about them, and I think by the end of the book suggests there's kind of more of an understanding between them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do think she kind of gave the vibe of like she comes to visit and like checks for dust. You know?
Right.
I definitely kind of got, yeah, exactly. Like, you know, she just looks at the glass you offer her and just like, yeah, and she won't put her mouth on it. You know what I mean? Like, I definitely kind of got that vibe from her.
Right.
But like you said, I understand where she's coming from as far as wanting to protect the children. She was absolutely right in that.
But I think she also something else that came through for me with her is that she also wants to protect him. She wants to give him the space. He's like, "Listen, not like you're here with the kids." Like obviously, like all the flashbacks that they have with Gwen and even just that opening chapter with her, like you can see that they were in love. Like that was his person. They really, really cared for her. And she's like, "You need a chance to like be able to mourn yourself. Like the kids are sad and you're doing your best to trying to do your best to take care of them and to also cope it. You need space to grieve yourself." And he's, I guess not willing to give him that permission, allow himself that. And so when I see her, I'm like, oh, she's like, she knows she lost her husband. She says that a few times.
Right.
I know this is really hard.
Yeah.
And people are touchy when it comes to their kids too. Nobody wants to be
Mhm.
told that they're doing a bad job.
And I think grief is for lack of a better term, a soft emotion that men would be told you can't let that get the better of you. Like that's a
Mhm.
weakness to give
Yeah.
it. You just press on. You just keep doing. And
Mhm.
Man up,
that,
right?
with alcohol as his crutch, he's screwing all of it up. He's almost, he's furloughed from his job.
Yeah, it's like that part when that comes out, you're just like, oh, first of all, you called his job, but what do you mean he's on administrative leave? Like it makes sense, of course.
Right.
Because he talks about like having the equipment in the back of his truck and how does he explain that he has this when he was supposed to have returned it. I'm like, well, why were you supposed to return it? But then things progress, so you kind of like, pops out of your head. But you're like, oh no, dude, you're in big trouble. It's not
Yeah.
just at home.
He's definitely, kind of floundering. I don't necessarily see Child Protective Services coming and taking the kids, but
Mhm.
he definitely is at risk of something happening in the house and him not being able to rise to the occasion. And
Mhm.
like I said, if there was a fire, if a kid had a medical emergency,
Mhm.
be able to get them to an emergency room.
Right. Or even wake up to call for help.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, the daughter trying to wake him up and him
Right.
not responding.
I have a question. How do you feel about Ouija boards?
I just, yeah, in my head, I would, my Isaac reaction would be that's silly, but if one's in the room, there's something there.
Mhm.
There's there, and I don't know if it comes from a place of believing there's something there, but they make me uneasy.
Yeah.
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 I feel the same way. Like
Okay.
I'm be like, oh, that's not real, but don't bring that into my
No,
apartment though.
it doesn't cross the threshold. I remember I was somewhere and these girls like found it and I was like, first of all,
Oh, found it is
found Ouija
even
boards we
worse.
don't do. Like
It's
we're not
even
doing that.
worse.
And I told them, I was like, if you guys play with that, I'm gonna leave. And they were like, oh, okay. I was like, no, I'm serious. Like I said, my parents warned me against them. So it's like I'm always curious to see. Some people are like, oh my God, it's so fun. You just push the thing. And I'm like, no, but this one came back from the lake and it wasn't even the same one.
Yeah. Nope, nope, nope.
Yeah, like especially an old Ouija board. Like there's
Mhm.
something that is not quite as Ouija board by Hasbro, where it's
Right.
a little less scary, but just like an old one, like if you
Yeah.
found it in an antique store and
Like
it
it's
was,
definitely haunted.
No,
yeah,
that's the beginning of a movie. Like
right.
that right
Exactly.
there.
And
And
I
like
think
and that's where the movie would end for me because I'd be like, no, I'm not getting it. And then boom, movie's over.
Reminds me of when I went to New Orleans, I had a similar experience. I was like, nope, time to leave the stop. Yep, nope, nope.
I did worry about it being too tropey, where it had the
Nah.
Ouija board trope, it's got the cabin in the woods trope, it's got the island trope. Um, but it kind of makes sense too because it's my first horror novel. So I am relying on kind of
But they're
ideas.
tropes for a reason too, though.
Yeah. They're
You
trips because they
know,
work.
they work.
They
That
work.
absolutely.
And
Cabins in the woods are creepy.
yeah,
And creepy things happen.
the place like finding an abandoned orphanage, also
I would have
creepy,
left then too.
right? I was just like, oh no. But I think that they all work because like I don't know that I didn't expect the story to go the way that it went.
I didn't
Like for
either.
me, it was they have these tropes that are, I guess, like native to horror, but it felt very original and very fresh to me. I wasn't like, oh, I know where this is going. I was shocked. I mean, I told you I turned on the lights to come text Tanya about it.
Well, that's good to hear that. I do think I was doing a little sleight of hand as trying to keep the reader away from what is the actual nefarious force.
Yeah.
Is it these voices that Carson is hearing? What is it exactly?
Yeah, Carson's staring at the lake, and you're just like, what's going on over there?
Just Sparta kick him in the back, like, nope.
Yeah, just like, no, what's
Time for a
going
new
on?
one.
And I think that this really cool because like all these things are happening before Evelyn Cameron comes into the picture. Like we know, like when they first get to the island, there's like the town crazy Teresa, and she's like, "Oh, my girls, this and that." You're like, you think she's talking about the dogs? It's like, as Archer would say, classic misdirection, So there's definitely you rolled like a 20 on sleight of hand. It's like crazy, and so I was like, oh, this is cool. Now here comes this neighbor. Like she must be okay. But then I remember like she invites them for like some tea, and Teresa was like, mind what you drink. And Isaac takes it personally. He's like, how do you know I'm alcoholic?
Right.
But
Have
those
you
are
ever
the
had
rules of the Fae.
Have you ever had a neighbor creepily invite you over? Because I have.
Have you?
Yes.
I have not. I can tell you a neighbor story that's really funny, and then we'll hear your creepy neighbor story. I remember when I was in grad school, I had an apartment. There was my door and my neighbor's door, female, and we shared this little vestibule that we could both walk out into, like where you put your shoes or whatever. And then there was a front porch where our two mailboxes were. Well, for whatever reason, it's the morning. I'm literally in my tidy whities, and I'm like, I'm just going to run out there, grab the mail, and come back in. I run out there, grab the mail, come back in. My door is closed and locked.
Oh, no.
No key. I'm in that vestibule. Tidy whities. Have spoken nothing in my whole time renting there to this neighbor, and that's how we're going to meet. I had to knock on her door. And as I hear her approaching, I'm like, hey, there's something you need to know. This is your neighbor. Like, that's not what you need to know.
Oh my God.
You need to know that I'm essentially nude. That's my underwear. So that was how I was inviting myself to my neighbor without. And
full disclosure, it's fully disclosed.
And she let me use her phone, and I got a hold of the landlord to be let in. But oh my God! But what was your creepy invite?
So I had a new neighbor. I had a new baby and a new neighbor, and we were having a block party. And she was just really interested in my baby. And I think my children are very cute, and I'm convinced someone will try to steal them. So I was already kind of side-eyeing the amount of interest she was showing in my baby.
Can I pause for a second? When Tanya says her kids are cute, they're so cute. When I met the first baby, I walked up to him and I was so overwhelmed by how cute he was that I had to walk away. I could not believe how just beautiful this child was. So yes, please carry on.
So yeah, I'm convinced somebody's going to try to steal them. So she started talking to me. I forgot where she's from. She has a heavy accent, and she's a heavy smoker, so she has a really deep voice.
Oh yeah, that lady.
Yeah. And she also kind of has like wild hair. And she, was just walking around up and down the street, and she started talking to me, but then she started pulling me. And I was wearing the baby in like the little Bjorn carrier thing. And she started kind of pulling me into the gate. And I was just like, why is she pulling me? And she was like, oh, come on in. And I was like, no, I'm okay. But she kept pulling me. And then it was like getting kind of weird. And so now I'm like she's my direct next door neighbor. So I'm like looking over at my place while I'm like on the other side of the gate, and I'm standing in her doorway. And she was like, oh, I have something for my older son. She's like, I have something for him. And I'm like, what does she have for him? And it was cookies. And I'm like, you're not going to lure me in with cookies. Like, I've read these stories before.
It's an apple.
Right. It was like, no, I've read this story before. But for some reason, yeah. And she pulled me like in, and so I walked into her house, and there were crosses. Turns out she's Catholic, but I didn't know that. But there was just like crosses, and I was just like, Tanya, how did you end up here? Like, she's gonna kill you and steal your baby. And she ended up giving me some cookies and a Virgin Mary like thing that she had gotten from Notre Dame. She told me she'd visited there, and then she like did a blessing on the baby. I'm not Catholic, so like I don't know how all of these things work. I just know that she gave me like a little statue, and she started saying words over the baby, and I was like, is she putting a spell on him? Is she praying? Like, I don't know which one it is. And then I was just like I was texting my husband because he's like, where are you? And I was like, I'm at blank's house right now, like come get me.
Crucifixion.
Yeah. And
Wow.
she's still there. She's still there. She still loves giving things to the kids. You know, she gave them money on Halloween, and I was like, all right, you know. But yeah, in the moment with a fresh baby, I just was not sure how this was gonna turn out.
Yeah,
especially once I saw the crucifixes, not just crosses, like crucifixes.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm about to be sacrificed. This is some
So
bullshit.
funny. Like, I was raised Catholic, but I still would have been like, all right.
I was raised Baptist. And we don't have the body on the cross. Like, the body on the cross is a little bit macabre, no? Like, it's like he was tortured. Like, do you know how triggered Jesus would be if he came back and just like saw all these depictions of his murder?
It's like the worst day of his life.
Well, I'd say I'm lapsed Catholic, but I was confirmed and all that stuff, and catechism, and it's morose.
What's your confirmation name?
That I don't even know.
Mine was Margaret. It's my dad's mother's name. Yeah,
I'm sure I had one. I remember I passed out. We had to stand up for a long time, and I locked my knees.
Oh my gosh!
I fell into my sponsor. It was one of my dad's best friends. He had to kind of hold me up, and so I missed parts or whatever. But
see, the Pentecostal side of my family would have thought a demon got you.
You're not worthy.
Yeah, could have been like the blood of Jesus.
Yeah, I think I got the confirmation because out of like my parents' guilt of like, oh, our kids are going to be. But we were a Christmas Eve Catholic family as far as church.
Christmas, Easter, Palm Sunday.
We get in some of the biggies, but we weren't. My mom wanted us to be, but like nobody would get up. It was just a pain.
Yeah, that 9 o'clock mass is brutal.
Right.
We were 5 o'clock on Saturday Catholics.
What's that?
We were 5 o'clock on Saturday Catholics.
Yeah. The whole let's get there by 9. It's like, oh, Mom, I'm 14 years old. 9 o'clock. I should be
Man, it was the opposite for me. I lived at church.
I did too, because I was in the youth group, but like I didn't want to wake up.
Oh gosh, I was at church all the time. That's probably why my horror fear is like it's like the ingrained stuff about demons and all of that. It's probably why the paranormal stuff scares me so much. You know, you grow up learning these really terrifying stories when you think about it, you know, like, hey, this guy was totally about to murder his son because a voice told him to. Like, you can't tell stuff like that to a kid, you know what I mean? Like, maybe that's the original horror, right? Like Bible stories.
The Old Testament doesn't mess around.
No.
And God was kind of mean. Like,
he was a bully.
What, like, who let him out? Was it Abraham, or goes to him and say, God, people are complaining. There's no food. There's no water. And he's like, bring him to me. I'll kill him. There's gonna be a bunch of complainers.
You know, it's funny.
Well, if you're gonna whine about it,
it's really funny because yesterday I went to the Met, Metropolitan Museum of Art, and I run a writing workshop. And the prompt yesterday was like, you know, an item in the museum finally decides that it has something to say, right? And so my story, it was about this. There's like a famous painting, but the frame is the one who starts to speak, and it's like, they're not coming to see me, are they? You know, like that was the perspective. So I go to the Met, and they've got this, like, I mean, I don't know what they call it when it's like 4 pictures on top of each other, but it's like Moses, Abraham, Noah, and Solomon. And I took a picture, I sent it to my group, and my friend's like, what did the what did the frame say? And I was like, this it said, this is the patriarchy, or have you heard of the patriarchy? It was just like all of this in there. I'm like, yeah. Speaking of writing, for one of the prompts that we did, actually, I was working on this with Tanya because she's going to record it for me. I started writing a scary story, and I wanted like it's the second one I've ever written. And the first one was like in college, right? The professor's like, you have to write about the death of a child. And everybody's like, oh, that's kind of dark. And they had like, maybe it was kidnapped or a kid dying of illness. I went total Lord of the Flies. I was like, these kids are in the wood, they're chasing, they're going to kill this kid. But I remember being in the library, like wondering about myself. I'm like, where is this coming from? Like, how are you tapped in and enjoying it? Because I found a couple of weeks ago when I was working on this news story, the same thing. I really enjoy writing psychological horror. And what does that mean about me? So did you learn anything about yourself in the process of writing a genre that you're not used to, or that you don't usually or haven't before?
Probably more, and only because it's more, the writing of it is more recently in my head, was with the sequel, which is going to at least tentatively be titled Shadows of the Witness Tree. And it takes place in the Pigeon. This is not quite an answer to your question, but I'll get to it. It takes place in the Pigeon River Forest where I go fly fishing. And I went fly fishing and camping there for the first time since writing this sequel. And I was like, I wonder if I'm going to be able to sleep in my tent. Or am I going to be thinking about all the creatures that I've populated my favorite fly fishing place with? Did I just ruin it for me? But I was able to sleep. But I shared the sequel with my fly fishing partner, who's also a creative writing teacher, and it was him who brought it out because he said, I didn't realize your penchant for violence. No, because some bad stuff goes down in the sequel, and
I mean, it's not like, not like a woman was laying naked on a thing wearing the skin of the man's brother in your book.
That didn't happen.
Totally rated G.
I do think I get in a very almost like a technical writer mode of like, even though it's gruesome stuff, it's like it's almost like, what does this writing need?
Yeah.
And somebody wearing somebody else's skin like a blanket sounded pretty scary.
It's
Is
terrifying.
it weird that I think about that all the time?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
sometimes
Your
I like
skin
to
changer.
Yeah, sometimes I like to creep my husband out. Like I'll just like gaze at him lovingly and he'll be like, "What are you thinking about?" And I'm like, "I just can't wait to wear your skin one day."
Boy.
So I liked that part.
Yeah.
It was gruesome. It was way more gruesome than I expected things to get. I was thinking, haunting, of course,
Yeah.
but I totally did not see when the brother left suddenly, I was like, okay, something must have happened.
Something's
So he
up. Because
left a
he
little
was so
too
nice. He was
suddenly.
like, he loved being a good uncle. He was out there. He was
Yeah.
hanging
And he
like,
left before the party. So I was like, that doesn't seem right. Did
yeah.
not expect for him to have been skinned.
Yeah. Silas. Let's talk about creepy ass Silas.
Silence.
What do you want to? I mean, he's a familiar, right? He's a caretaker. He's important to Evelyn's longevity. For me, he is symbolic of the booze. That's why his name is Silas Jameson. And Jameson,
that's right. I did pick up the
Jameson. Jameson was my whiskey of choice. And I think in order to come out at the end of the novel, I don't want to spoil, so I'm going to say if he's going to end that novel successfully, Isaac has to defeat his alcoholism first, or at least get a handle on his drinking. And so, yeah, that is the first. Silas is the first of the nefarious forces that he has to overcome.
Silas is scary. Like he's lurking in the woods. I mean, that was the first thing I think where I was like, okay, he has a feeling that he's being watched when they're still at home. And then he's like, oh, there's an owl. It must be about to kill something. But then he finds the rabbit and like, it's pretty much untouched. Like it's not bleeding anything. And I was like, didn't that woman just call and say, if he takes a life, your thoughts won't be your own. What's happening? You know, like so scary. And Silas, like he's quiet, he doesn't say much, you know. And then Carson's like, you are so tall. Like my brother is 6'5" and my dad is 6'7", so I'm used to looking up. And little kids love them because it's like a skyscraper standing in front of them.
Right.
But to also be like, you know, very quiet and creepy, but good at things. Like he was giving Tywin Lannister with like the blood up to the elbows, you know, like skinning, just oh man.
I
Oh,
felt
he's
like
good.
I felt like so many parts of this book could be broken off into short stories.
Hmm.
Yeah, that was one reader said it's not, it's told through Isaac's point of view. So it's not Isaac, like, oh, somebody's like, I wanted to know more about the lore and I wanted to know more behind these characters. And I was just like, well, it's nothing Isaac would know.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah.
So I can
And I
only,
love that. Yeah.
I know how the world functions, and some of the functionality comes out more in the sequel.
I
Mhm.
think that you do. I mean, I think I understand the reader, like maybe the urge to like want that thing, but I think that you get that with Adam. Adam's a history professor. He goes back to the island, goes back to the mainland. He's like, yo, guess what I found out? That place, it was an orphanage and these kids drowned. And so then you get to know a little bit of the island through there. You're like, you're not expecting, you know,
Yeah,
to
why
spend
would
time with
Isaac know?
Evelyn, but like, yeah, Isaac wouldn't know that. And he doesn't, he said he's a skeptic.
Right.
He
Yeah.
doesn't look at it
He
either.
wouldn't, but more of it does come out. One regret I have for the first book, and that another reader brought up, is like, why didn't you have them go in the orphanage?
No. Why would they do that?
Perfectly reasonable to me that they didn't, because I wouldn't.
I would
It's like,
not
well,
have.
technically they did, because Helen and the kids take
Oh, right.
Mhm.
They take
refuge there,
refuge in there.
but it's not through their point of view,
Yeah.
so you don't. And I guess probably it's the, because I didn't know what to call it. Is it folk horror? Is it gothic horror?
Mhm.
And I do think I leaned more seeing it as gothic. One, gothic often does deal with addiction,
Mhm.
and the orphanage was kind of gothic in that it is this kind of dilapidated older building. And I do kind of agree, well, maybe there could have been a reason why Isaac had to go in there. Like, could he have arrived there and he can't find Helen and the kids and he has to go into the orphanage to
Or
look
maybe the
for
Ravens could have chased him in there.
Yo,
Can we
bro,
talk
I
about the
want to say two
Ravens?
things. Two
Oh,
things real quick before that. I think like you talk about like they're being worried about having lots of tropes, that if he had gone in, that it would have been like, for me, I'm like, okay, the guys goes in and that would have been more predictable. I like that we don't see, like, it happens off screen, that the kids do go there, and by that time we trust the voices that Carson is hearing. But I think just winding up and like happening upon it in the woods with like the cyclone barbed wire is just like, oh no, this place is off limits. Got it. Bye.
right.
But yeah.
And I did actually, because the other one, it inspired me for the sequel, because the sequel, outside of tents, they're not really going in any buildings.
Mm.
And I found a way to work in an abandoned cabin that Isaac has to go inside in the sequel. And I ended up liking like that kind of indoors setting,
Mhm.
because so much of Dance of Rotten Sticks and the sequel take place outside.
Yeah.
And I think
Yeah.
there's sometimes something scary about a scary building of having to go into it, you know.
mhm.
But
Ooh. Tanya, let's talk about the Ravens.
Yeah, let's talk about these freaky ass Ravens. So birds frighten me too. I told you I'm scared of everything, but birds frighten me, especially in large numbers. But I have always wanted to befriend a raven. Can you tell us about these ravens?
Yeah.
What?
Real
What?
quick, I want to say that I Google, like, we know a group of crows is called a murder. A group of ravens is called an unkindness.
yes, an unkindness of
And I
rape.
was like, oh, this is so ominous. Look at that foreshadowing.
Yes.
So yeah.
Um, well, I know this. My dad had a pet crow when he was a little boy. Now, it's not a pet raven. Ravens are bigger. They tend to be a bulkier bird. Um, their their gargling, their call is a little bit more croaking than a crow's. I don't know if they operate like a crow. My dad's crow, his bedroom window was always open, and the crow would come and go. And he left gifts for him that he would find on the bed. Like he'd come home and there'd be bottle caps and little shiny things that the crow had found. The crow also would fly to my dad grew up in a little tiny town called Big Bay. The crow would fly to a gas station. He was known there. He would sit on a perch, and the owner of the gas station actually sold tourists little hamburger balls that people could feed the crow. But then, and it's always sad. It was always sad with my dad. He had a very tough life. Lost his father very early. Lost a big brother very early to a drunk driving accident. Since we've been using colorful language, some asshole came with a shotgun, shot the crow from its perch at the gas station.
Did they jump him?
My dad had a heart. He loved Mickey. The crow's name was Mickey.
Well, I am now cursing that person's bloodline.
He did not tell the story much beyond that, but because I was like, well, what happened? How long did Mickey live? And then he's like, oh, some guy came
What
through.
a terrible thing to do.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that hurt my heart so bad.
But
well, a pox on that bloodline.
He had this pet crow. I wonder if ravens, but he loved it, and he said it was very intelligent. Really enjoyed like would kind of sit on his bed and watch my dad go through like whatever he had brought him. Like, so
he's like, did you like my gift? It's
right.
like when me and Tanya give each other presents, and we're like,
yeah, shiny things like little crows.
When I was young, I had a very unique pet. I had a flying squirrel.
No way.
Really?
Yeah. We found a nest of them. The mom had abandoned this nest, and you could hear them. And I remember my cousin went up the tree and reached into the hole, and he got this little baby flying squirrel. And I went up there too. Everybody was inside, and he was like, no, it's just this one. And I went up there and I was digging around, and I found another one. He was great. He would glide around our house from curtain to curtain. I woke up one morning with our Lhasa Apso eating my pet flying squirrel at the foot of my bed.
Oh my gosh.
The top of his cage had been left off.
Aww.
My little Twinkie. His name is Twinkie.
Aww.
I love unusual pets. I live in an apartment, like I can hear my neighbors like when they cough. And I really wanted a bird. I love parakeets. I love birds, but it's like they're not apartment friendly in New York, like the birds outside are just super loud. One of them was doing a weird call when I was meditating the other day. It's like, bah! I was like, that's not the goat. It's not the goat. The goats at the same, like bleats at the same time every day down the block. This is something different. But yeah, I know the goat lives down the block in Brooklyn. Who knows?
Tanya, ravens do factor into the sequel as well.
Okay.
Yeah, they'll make an appearance. The Dog Man of Michigan factors into the book.
What is the dog? Who is the Dog Man of Michigan?
It's kind of Bigfoot-esque. Apparently started Native Americans saw this. I mean, they didn't call him the Dog Man of Michigan, but there are stories that there was an entity. It's about 7 feet tall, and it's a dog that can walk on its hind legs. It's not really a werewolf. It doesn't turn back into a man. It's just kind of Bigfoot-esque, and apparently like lives in the woods of northern lower Michigan. And some lumberjacks, there's stories of lumberjacks like seeing it. And there's a story of a guy, he was fishing on the Muskegon River, and he looked, and there was a pack of feral dogs on the shore kind of growling at him while he was fishing, and then one of them stood up on its
oh my God.
At him, but looking at him like a dude, like, hey, how's the fishing?
He said, square up, bitch.
But he said very tall, probably like a 6 foot tall dog.
Wow.
These feral dogs.
Oh, that's exciting.
So I wanted to build in
That's the word you choose. Exciting.
Well, for the book.
Oh.
I wanted to build in some of that lore, and I think it operates a lot like the first book, as there's a lot of the, I think, sleight of hand or the leaving the reader guessing what exactly is going on here. And I hope I don't know that I'll ever be a full-fledged, I I don't know. I guess I skinned a guy, so that's pretty gory. But
You
but
know.
you don't see the scene where it's happening. A
Yeah.
lot of the
Yeah.
gore happens off screen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that.
I think that was the case with old scary movies too. It was,
Mm.
Dracula was shadows and whatnot, but
Yeah. Yeah, it's like even with the slasher ones, it's just like you see the knife coming up, whatever, you might see a little blood splatter, but you're not like watching somebody get flayed.
yeah,
Until like the
Psycho,
early 2000s where like that's all it was.
yeah,
Uh,
and that doesn't sit with me. But I don't. The last horror movie I watched was The Descent.
Oh wow, I haven't seen that since I think I
I've
saw
never
that in
seen
the
that.
theater.
So
That's
yeah,
the
I
last time
did
I
too.
saw it.
And the spelunking and the caving scared me much more than the
Scared
creatures.
me too.
The
And I saw it in the
claustrophobia.
daytime.
Oh no, thank
Yeah. I saw it in the daytime and it freaked me out enough to know that I would never explore caves. And you just reminded me of that guy who got stuck upside down in the cave. Do you remember that?
You're
This
not gonna
guy
you're not gonna believe this. Because I know what you're talking about, because you see that picture of him drawn on Facebook where it's just a silhouette saying
Yeah.
that factors into the sequel.
Really? Oh
Because Isaac
gosh.
Isaac is lying in a sleeping bag having a panic attack because he feels he's trying an edible to get to sleep. And so he's very
Boy,
stoned.
can I relate.
And sometimes when you get stoned, I've heard, no, it's legal in Michigan. So yes, sometimes when you get stoned, you can have, instead of getting super relaxed, I get super paranoid,
Mhm.
or worrying about things that when I wake up the next day, it's like, why the hell was I worried about that? That was so
Yeah.
weird.
Yeah.
But he's kind of stuck in the sleeping bag. On Ashley's advice, he's trying an edible to get to sleep because he's been
Oh, she's
struggling with
grown now.
insomnia. Yeah. And it takes place 11 years after the first.
Got it. Got
Um,
it.
so Emily's about to turn 22. Um, and he thinks of that. That's what when he closes his mind, closes his eyes, he can't go to sleep because that image of the upside down guy. I can't look at that.
I
I
just I just Googled it because I have no idea. I mean, the asshole part of me was like, how embarrassing is it to get stuck and die in a place called Nutty Putty Cave? But
Big pause.
like, I
27
just like there's so
hours.
many reasons.
27 hours he was upside down.
Wow.
And they couldn't
Wow.
retrieve his body. They ended up just collapsing the whole thing
Yeah,
because they
that's what
couldn't.
it says. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. Permanent
So,
closed.
yeah, and they were kind of like unmoving, upside down.
Hmm.
Yeah.
27 hours in the dark. How did you
No,
not go insane? Because I'm
it wouldn't have
claustrophobic.
taken me 27 hours to die. I would have just willed myself to die the moment I realized I was stuck. If you ever hear about me dying in a situation like that, know that I was murdered because I would never even go there.
That one, yeah. I mean, I already caving doesn't interest me, and that was the whole premise of The Descent. Is the friend trick them? They thought they were going to a level
Oh.
1 spelunking experience, and they were going to a level 4 or 5, like the hardest,
Mhm.
because she
Oh.
was one of those adrenaline junkie friends, and she was, the leader, who,
Yeah.
invariably dies in the horror film. But that, like, for me, once the creatures showed up, I was like, oh, this isn't bad. Like, get me out of the damn cave. I'll take
Yeah.
the creatures. But
Wow.
yeah, that does factor in, because I definitely I have been on a camping trip, and I'll be lying in my sleeping bag, and I'll start thinking about, I haven't had to have one, and I'll start thinking about, someday I'm going to have an MRI. And I will freak myself out, and I am in the woods camping on a cot in a sleeping bag, and my mind will not let that I'll have to get out and start pacing around the fire pit. I got to get fresh air. I got to get away
Yeah.
from, because I think it's the confining aspect of
Yeah.
the sleeping bag. That would,
For my sister's 40th birthday, we went to Belize and we got an Airbnb on this place called Bird Island. And it was a similar thing, to Orphan Island, except it wasn't orphany or creepy. But we had to take a boat out. It was like 25-minute boat ride just into the middle. And like it was beautiful. We're like look at those clouds, they're not moving. Like, holy shit, that's the Milky Way. Like all of these things, you could see all the stars. It was amazing. Everybody went to bed, and I was like, man, this is so gorgeous. Like, huh, all right, I'm gonna go to sleep. I got in bed and I just could hear the waves, and they weren't soothing. I started to just I was so afraid. Like, tsunamis are like my natural disaster nightmare. And I was like, what if something happens? They can't tell us. We're just going to die. We're going to be out here. We're going to die. Nobody's going to know what happened. We're just going to be washed away. And I was like, and then in a moment, I was like, thank God I didn't bring my edibles. This would have been a terrible idea. And I actually ended up listening to that Andre 3000 flute album, and that helped me soothe me to sleep. The next night it was okay, but I was sitting there, I was like, how is everybody asleep? Like, don't they know that, like, just like that, we could be gone? Oh yeah, terrible.
Yeah, well, where we're camping too, there's no and I like, you'll see I did it in Dance of Rotten Sticks, and I do it in the sequel. I don't want access to the internet. I don't want technology. And so where we go fly fishing, you drive out of any signal, so you have no internet connection. So if it's 2 in the morning,
that.
I don't want, yeah. Well, my dad was a writer, and that's when he stopped writing, was when the computer, he said, I can't keep up. I can't keep up with it. He goes, my books are dated within a year because the technology has already surpassed the little bit that I was able to capture, he had questions for me often. He'd call up and say, if someone has a cell phone, what would happen if, because he was trying his best to keep it topical. But yeah, I like cutting them off. But when I'm up there and I start to have like a panic attack, there's nothing to do. You can't grab your phone and like, I'll just, scroll through the news or something, or watch a cat.
Because that won't give you a panic attack either.
Right.
Look at the news and be like, well, I guess things could be worse.
Right. Oh, for our pop culture stream, we just did The Hand That Rocks the Cradle, and we just think about how different that movie is and how it hits differently because there is no internet, because people like her friend Marlene had a cell phone in her car, but that's because she was a baller. Like everywhere else, she had to go to the library and use what the fuck is those machines?
The microfiche.
The microfiche machine in order to look something up. I'm like, that was the internet, guys. But stories hit differently that way, and I always appreciate when it's not enough.
Yeah.
And there have been some people that have found the horrific within the internet too.
Yeah.
And I applaud that. The idea
Black
that
Mirror.
anybody could be looking you up, or you get the, like in Disclosure. Was that what it was called? The Demi Moore one. But there was something around the bit. Yeah, like the big thing was, the sexual harassment from a female boss to a male employee.
Oh yeah, that was Disclosure.
There was stuff going on within the business, and he was getting these anonymous texts. And that's a little spooky too, that somebody can reach out to you and you don't even know who they are.
I think another thing too is the rise of like AI and search engines that are the AI hallucinates essentially, and it just makes stuff up if it doesn't know.
Right.
A lot of lawyers have gotten in trouble recently because they've been using like Chat GPT to write briefs, and it's makes up cases that don't exist. It just like hallucinates and spits out these cases that have never happened or completely fake. And so I could see, somebody thinking that they're looking something up and getting like something really fucked up in return.
Or not getting something fucked up, getting something that's completely whitewashed, and you walk into the situation where it's like, actually, no, this house used to be it was a slaughterhouse,
right?
Whatever,
right? Yeah. It's like, I think there's definitely ways you could work it in, but I do like the idea of, there's no cell service here. This place has no internet. Like, let's bring it back. Like, again, I'm a big fan of like 70s and 80s horror, and so I like stuff where it's like there's no calling for help.
There's no. I called my dad earlier actually, because I'm going to Arizona in a few weeks, and I'm going to be in Sedona, don't stalk me. I'm going to be out there, and they have hiking trails and stuff. And I was like, I'm not a hiker, but I like walking outside. I grew up like taking long walks, so I was like, should I bring a compass? And they're like, "Do you know how to use a compass?" I'm like, "I was in ROTC, I know how to use a compass." But like, should I bring a compass? Should I bring one that has like a whistle with the compass on in case something happens? Like, I don't know. I might not have service up there. There's like a stretch of the driver. People I'm gonna have to
See,
get
but
them out.
that's scary to me too. Like the idea of hearing a whistle in the woods would not make me go to see what's happening. I would see it as a lure, or like
It's a mimic.
because like I think like I think of like a lot of like fae, like evil fairy stuff, where it's like you hear a crying baby. Of course, you want to go help a crying baby, but it's not a baby,
No, it's a
like.
fox.
Yeah, actually, you just gave me an idea that I wish I would have worked into the sequel, because the typical, or the call, if you're in distress and you have a whistle, is 3 short blasts in the wood, and you're telling somebody, I'm in danger here. And that could have been
Good to know.
an interesting way for Isaac to be lured somewhere if something was,
Mhm.
because I could see him instructing, because he's fly fishing with Carson, who's now 15. And I could see him telling, like instructing him, like if you're out in the woods, like he could be like, Dad, why do I have to bring a whistle with me? Like, well, you could get, when you're wading in a river, there's stumps and stuff. It'd be very easy to twist an ankle or whatnot and just
Yeah.
bring somebody to you. But it's an interesting way for something evil to also lure somebody unsuspecting to an area, because you're just assuming you hear 3 blasts like that in the woods, somebody's in trouble.
Yeah.
Right.
You know what? You just said Carson, and it's like we know now that the sequel is like 11 years after, but listening to like you saying Carson, I was like, oh my God, I was like, I have an attachment to all of these kids. They're very real and very believable. And I'm like, oh my God, you guys, they grew up. Like I'm really looking forward to meeting them as older people. And I didn't know that till just now. So
Yes. You'll meet Carson. Ashley doesn't play a big part, but she is pregnant.
Ooh, that's
And
body horror.
and Emily, you will meet her partner, Harper. She she has a nice girlfriend.
I love
Okay.
that.
Yeah.
Oh,
So
I'm
I
so
think,
excited.
it's a big jump. And as I think about it, I don't know that one of the things that interests me about the third book is I don't think it'll be from Isaac's point of view. I think Isaac will be deceased, and just
Yeah.
by natural causes, because
Yeah.
I'm guessing that it's going to be another 11 years before there's a need for that story to continue. But
I love this.
and I want to do urban. I want some reason that they have to go into Detroit, and some old building in Detroit or whatnot, which is going to be connected some way to that Irish guy who built the original orphanage on the
Okay.
island. That's what I'm seeing. And I'd like to do some urban horror, because I've done a lot of the woods horror.
Wow, that's so much to look forward to.
Yeah, I'm into it.
As
I'm
long as I
into
can
it.
find that guy who can go down and write every morning, not just sleeping in like I am right now. God, school is done, so I think I got out of bed at like 10:30 today.
Thank you for your
Nice.
service.
Yes.
Yeah, enjoy that break. Oh, man. Do you have any final thoughts?
This was great. That's my final thought. This was fun. Yeah,
No, thank you so much for chatting with us.
absolutely. I could keep talking into the evening, but I know the shows must end.
Where can people find you?
Where can they find me? I'm exclusively under my name on Blue Sky. I gave up the Twitter, just got too ugly. Facebook,
Same.
I gave up over a decade ago. I just
Good for you. I hate
I'm on
Facebook.
LinkedIn, but everybody in there just wants to talk about work.
Yeah.
Boring.
But Blue Sky, I like a great deal. Blue Sky, I've
too.
met some great people. Blue Sky reminds me of old Twitter.
Like 2009 Twitter.
Like Blue Sky, you can post a link to your book. You're like, hey, I wrote this. Anybody interested? And you still get comments, bought it,
Yeah.
like the old days.
Well, that's how we met. I was like, hey, who has a book we should read for book club?
Right. And that's my annoying book marketing, is just anybody talking like that. There's an in there for me to plug. And I think you said you were looking for guests or something. I don't remember the exact conversation.
No, I think I was like, hey, who has a book I should read? And a bunch of people sent me their links, and you were like, "Hey, I could get on a call." And I was
Yeah.
like, him. Because a lot of people sent me recommendations of like their own books. And it's a much better response than I ever used to get on Twitter when I would ask for book recommendations. So yeah.
Well, it worked out great, and I would like to keep in touch too about, as the sequel gets
Come
close.
back.
Yeah,
love
come
to have
back.
you.
Talk about it again. Absolutely.
Ooh, I have a question that we didn't ask.
Yes.
What are you reading right now? Are you reading anything?
Yes, and I'm trying to support. I got an email from Whistling Shade Press, which is a press that put out a few of my literary, a collection of my short stories and a novel. And he just sent out like a email to everybody saying, "Hey, we just put out a new book. It's a collection of nonfiction essays called Hypnotic Control." And it's these stories from a guy who's both a poet, but he's also a stage hypnotist. And he talks about his experiences kind of working these dingy little like roadhouses where he's kind of the mid entertainment, getting the audience ready for the dancers, the girls to come out and disclose. And but his thoughts on hypnotism, he like does deep research. It's just really interesting. So I am reading Hypnotic Control. And I think John Palmer Ives. I'm not sure the name off the top of my head. It's great. And typically I don't want, after a semester of reading papers and whatnot, I tend to take a break from reading. And I was like, well, I want to support the press with this new book, so I'll buy it. And it arrived, and I was just kind of flipping. And then next thing you know, I'm gobbling it up. So it's an interesting book.
Boom. There we go. I'll post it up here. Bing. Aha. Tanya, what are you reading?
So I am reading Sinophagia. It's a collection of Chinese horror. It's like translated because AAPI month. So I've been just reading like lots of books by mostly Asian American authors. I haven't read any Pacific Islander authors, but so I'm reading that. I'm also reading Book of Elsewhere by Keanu Reeves, which I just found because I was just scrolling Libby, and I was yeah, with another person. Let's see, Keanu Reeves and China Miéville. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. It was just I was just scrolling Libby, and I sometimes I just do like what's available right now, and it was available, and I was like Keanu Reeves, and so I just checked it out. So yeah, I'm reading that. And what else am I reading? I feel like there was something else I was reading.
Everything.
I usually have like quite a few going at the same time, especially if I have short stories. No, that's it. I just finished another set of short stories called Lesser Known Monsters of the 21st Century by Kim Fu. And that's it's just another collection of short stories. Some of them are a little bit scary. One of them is very like Kafkaesque. One of them is like a little bit fantastical. Like they're all a little bit different. But I'm focused on Sinophagia though, because I really want to get through that. And reading Chinese horror at bedtime is not easy. So
oh man. So what am I reading? I'm reading Shigiri and the Brass Head of Obalofon. Finally, I know Tanya's been trying to get me to read it, but
such a great book.
I'm actually, because I have to write about it for work, I'm rereading Victorian Psycho by Virginia Fato. Oh my God. Jeff, you want it's like a governess arrives at a house and then everybody dies. Like, that's not a spoiler because it says it in the very beginning. It's like 3 months later, everyone was dead. And I was like, you've got my attention.
Oh, Nothing But Black and Teeth. We both just read that
Nothing
one.
But Black and Teeth. I forgot who that's by.
That was Japanese horror, right?
Japanese horror. And then when I was on the subway walking to the train, I passed a book stand and there was this book called Tales of Old Japan. And it's like horror stories and folklore and stuff. So that's also in my list. I just opened it on my Kindle.
Nice.
Lots of good stuff going on.
I need to buckle down and read a horror novel. I'm going to find
Victorian Psycho. I'm telling you, I'll text you when we're offline.
Do you like historical fiction?
Sometimes, yeah.
There's a historical fiction horror novel called The Reformatory by Tananarive Due. And that one, the real life parts of it might have been to me more horrific than the horror parts of it.
Okay.
It takes place in like, Jim Crow South, at a like correctional boarding school for Black boys, and it's so scary. So scary. It's scary in like a real life way and scary in a horror way.
What was it called again?
The Reformatory.
The Reformatory. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe I will.
Oh, good books. Yeah, we'll send you a list.
All right.
We'll send you a list. Well, I guess
it was a pleasure. Now we end our stream. Thank you again, Jeff, for joining us.
Don't leave. We'll talk to you afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. Later, everybody. Bye.
Bye.
For previous episodes, find us at thousandeyespodcast.com. On YouTube, you can find us at 1,000 Eyes in One Podcast. If you'd like to follow us on social media, we are 1,000 Eyes in One on Instagram and Facebook, 1,000 Eyes Pod on Blue Sky, and if you're interested in our Speculative Fiction Book Club, follow Wine on an Empty Stomach on Instagram.